Alright guys, welcome to today's daily analysis for Monday, February 4th. Today I want to cover the major pairs, kind of give us a nice overview of the different pairs that we'll be looking at throughout the week. Maybe as the week goes on we'll look at less pairs, but for now, just to start off the week, I want to take a look at most of the major currencies and basically what I think we could be expecting over the next week, some major levels to look out for, and things like that. Alright guys, before we jump into that, we'll take a quick look at our news and then our terms, and we'll jump right back into these charts. Okay guys, a few major announcements here. 3 red tagged events coming up tomorrow. The pound news at 4:30 a.m. is certainly one that's going to be of importance, considering the pound and the euro and what's going on there, and whether the pound is going to continue to be a little bit stronger throughout this week and even this month, or if it's just kind of a 1 or 2 day pullback where pound is actually going to continue its weakness anytime now. Maybe that news announcement could set up the stage for that. Then we do have U.S. dollar news right now. U.S. is pretty neutral, and so maybe we could add some value to the U.S. dollar or get it moving in one direction or the other. And the AUD, kind of similar, where the AUD has not really made up a lot of ground. Just maybe one good announcement to push it one way or the other could also give that Australian dollar some direction. So not a lot of news, but definitely some things to watch out for and to pay attention to with those announcements. Alright guys, and then to cover our terms, the most important thing here to note is that Winners Edge Trading is not an advisory service. Winners Edge Trading is a great site with lots of awesome free education material, but it's only our perspective. It's not to be taken as investment advice. Anything that you decide to do with your money is really ultimately up to you, and we need to be very clear on that because there's certain regulations in place by the United States government that regulate exactly what we can do and what we can say, and so we just want to be very clear that we're not telling you how to trade your money or what to do with your money. We're just sharing our personal opinions of the market. Alright guys, so starting off with the euro dollar here on the daily chart, you can see the massive reversal with the euro, obviously a ton of euro weakness happening from this point. And so really the question here is this going to be continued all the way down, maybe toward our trend line area here? Is it just a one bar to kind of squeeze out some of the people who are long before jumping right back up? Or is it setting the tone for really the major long-term reversal that comes all the way back down? The question is really, what is the euro doing here? And of course I have no idea, unfortunately. But what we need to do here, in my personal opinion, is really just kind of wait for some feedback based on price action. This could be just a one bar steep pullback to get some of the later longs out of this trade before continuing right up from here, or we could see some continued weakness. And so what I would do is set up some levels that you're watching. Right here is actually a pretty decent level. We have a base here, another area here that also could correspond with some trend line action. So there's some levels here, and if price reacts favorably, here's another good level right here actually at the bottom. So if price reacts at a favorable area and starts moving back up, we'll definitely be in position to take a long, but at this point it's pretty hard to judge whether you want to jump on the short wagon or just jump right back long just because there's a bearish bar there. Not really, in my opinion, any great reason to do one or the other. So to me, I'm just going to wait and see how price develops and then look to take advantage when something more clear happens. US yen, pretty similar, very straight up. You can see the US yen, pretty amazing move here. So, again, kind of picking a level to see if this thing's going to pull back or just kind of, a one stall bar before moving higher. 90 is an interesting level. If price pulls back toward 90, that's definitely an area that I'd be thinking long at. So, again, just one where you have to be patient because it's in the middle of a very steep uptrend, and one bearish bar does not really provide a lot of information or clarification. So typically, you want to hold back, wait, get some bearings on what exactly you think this thing might be doing, and then look to take advantage of it after that. And so that's exactly what my plan would be on these yen crosses. The AUD is an interesting one because it looks like it could be setting up for a bounce. You can see that it pulled right back toward the 50 fib here of this recent swing, and we bounced nicely, then closed above the 38. And so because this is such a big area up here, right around 106, excuse me, there's some good potential for this thing to bounce. So that's something I'm definitely interested in. If the AUD can gain some strength here, pop a little bit, we might see a continuation right up into the 106 area, because that can typically act as a nice magnet to pull price in if it gets close. So I'm going to keep my eye on this level. Not a lot of momentum right now, as it's just kind of barely moving, but if we get some pop, some impulsive movement to the upside, this would be one that I'd be definitely willing to jump on and try to take advantage of to see if it'll rise right up to that 106 area again, and that's the AUD dollar. USDCAD is still in a pretty channeling type setup. You can see that really from this point here, where it bounced up to this point here, we haven't broken out of this range. And so what I'm looking to see is if we can eventually get some continuation. A nice move here and a pullback, so this could be an area where we could see some continuation of a move just like that. It's not really set up for a lot of momentum yet. Again, kind of like the AUD. Just a small bar, so we'll see. But if this can continue, maybe break some areas here, we could see the development of a real trend on the USDCAD. And so that's another one that I'd be very interested in, but waiting for price action to develop on that one as well. Now the euro pound had a pretty amazing move today. You can see from Friday the incredible bar that we had Friday, and then pretty much an immediate reversal right from 87, which is where we topped out, just shooting right back down. And so, you know, again, same question: is it an actual reversal in the market that's going to continue and really collapse, or are we just getting some of those people who went long too late out of the trade and refueling this thing for another move to the upside? And so a few things to look out for here. Number one, we have the kind of this little mini base where it struggled near 86. So we'll see if at least it can break through the low that was presented there. Now, one interesting thing with the euro pound is that because it moved so quickly, so straight up, if it does collapse, it can pretty much fall equally as fast because there's not a lot of major support levels that were built on the way up. So, you know, because the euro pound has a lot of pip value, you can, you know, jump on it and really get a lot of value out of every pip that it moves. When there's a quick collapse on it, it's really an optimal pair to look to take advantage of. So the euro pound, you know, waiting for the continuation. You know, if it gets to 85 and breaks through 85, that'll be a paramount area that I'll be looking at. And so, you know, depending on the continuation here, euro pound might be one that I'm very interested in shorting, but just not yet, not based on one bar certainly. I need to see a lot more, some sentimental change and some good consistency out of the pound strength in order to short that euro pound. But right now, obviously, a lot of potential based on what that massive bar is showing us. Continuing to talk about this euro weakness, the euro pound I think is another very interesting pair to mention. You know, this was an area where I wasn't sure if we were going to break this high or if we're going to kind of continue in this wedge pattern, but we did. We made a nice high, continue with some good euro strength momentum, and now it reversed right up here. You know, pretty much into the 131 area. And top down with some nice momentum. So it broke through 130, which is a pretty significant area. And so to me, this thing could be at least heading back down to some of our former support and resistance areas here, if not all the way back down to our trend line to find another area to bounce from. You know, if it got all the way down to this trend line and look to make a new high and continue this recent trend. So the euro odd to me has a lot of potential to be short. And again, if that odd does pop, as I mentioned, kind of on the odd dollar, if we get some of that odd strength, that could drive this euro odd down pretty quickly. And so that's definitely one that I would be paying attention to as well. Okay, and I'll finish up with this pound New Zealand, kind of an interesting pair. We can see that what we did was we actually gapped down and opened right around 184.48, which is actually a record low for the pound New Zealand. Lowest price it's ever been is where we opened today. Now we did bounce right back, kind of centered here on this daily bar. And so an interesting question for the pound New Zealand is whether it's going to rally from this way low point and try to get up towards some of these higher prices, maybe up in the 197 area, or if we're going to break down kind of into unexplored space and see if we can get a nice move and really another breakdown of this long bearish leg on the pound New Zealand that has lasted years and years. One thing I note is that, you know, basically from this point to recently where we broke out here, the euro pound has been very choppy, very inconsistent, no really good trend lines to look at, just a lot of inconsistent moves. So it's kind of due for some consistency, due for a long consistent move in one direction. And so if that could be the downside right here, and if it is, of course, that's something I really want to be involved in and really take advantage of. And so the pound New Zealand, just watching very closely to see if we can develop some momentum and some continuation to the downside. And I would look forward to capturing that, you know, for our next leg to the downside, just to see how far it could go. You know, the pound has gained a little bit of strength, obviously moved up against the New Zealand, as you can see right there. But the New Zealand has some potential here too to rise and be stronger than the pound and really drive this thing lower. So that's one that I'll be keeping you updated on and looking at very closely. Alright guys, well that's it for the daily analysis. I hope that covering these pairs on a Monday to get you set up and looking forward to trading is beneficial to you. I do appreciate if you take a minute to tweet and share. It really means a lot when we can get this out to more people, and so if you don't mind taking a minute to do that, I really appreciate it. And if you have any thoughts or comments, just go ahead and share those below, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.